do you have 20 tabs open in your brain? I'm like, yeah. I ignored myself for a long time. I ignored my needs without even knowing what my needs were. I guess what has prevented me from having the next burnout is I now know the precursor signs, right? I know when I'm having those warning signs.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast, ideas flow but never last.
In today's episode, we're talking about the warning signs, the productivity trap, neurospicy parenting and self-discovery, breaking the double life, and the power of a pause.
Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind.
Hello and welcome to Ramblings of a Busy Mind. I have a dear friend here today, Nathalie Poirier, and we've been working together in different, however you want to call it, teacher,
All
student,
sorts of
all kinds of,
capacities. Yes.
yeah, it's so interesting because we've done so many things, and we met at a retreat in 2018, I believe.
I believe so in Pictou, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since then have become close friends, and I'm happy to have her here today as my guest. And
Happy
she
to
is
be
the
here.
owner of Ocean Communications,
Yes.
and as also same time being an employee.
I am a full-time federal public servant, single mom of two amazing kids. And yes, I do have my own strategic marketing consulting company, Ocean Communications, on the side. Everything keeps me quite busy,
Yeah, which leads to
which is occasional burnout. Yeah,
you burn the candles on both ends, basically.
I do burn the candles at both ends. Yes, at times I like to say that I'm getting better.
I see the difference because as I know you that long and as we work together in that capacity, I see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see because the things you do for yourself, the awareness, and I know you took Raising Bioenergetic Awareness with Michelle and me.
Yep.
And do you want to share what changed when you did that?
I remember I was somehow convinced by both of you to take the course, and I wasn't really sure what it meant, or what it involved. And honestly, it was sort of like the catapult to my journey with um, wellness and also like energy work. And since then I've sort of progressed, got my Reiki level 1 and 2, and was attuned for 3. Haven't really completely reached the master level, but it sort of opened my eyes to how energy um, affects the body and moves through the body. So that was really, yeah, the Raising Bioenergetics was kind of a little bit where I believe it all started.
So just to give a quick explanation, Raising Bioenergetic Awareness is a course that we created that teaches you to listen to your 5 senses, to learn how you perceive energy, to understand how information comes in for you and in which way it's translated. Because everybody is sensitive to energy. It's just a matter of, can we understand the language? And I found that really interesting while we created the course, and we were actually teaching the first one while we were creating the course, to see in the students the changes that happen. So somebody who was very, very much an empath all of a sudden could say, oh, okay, I see this is not mine. I don't have to react on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a tool at hand where you all of a sudden have the ability to discern, is it necessary for me to act? Can I react? But even more, how do I respond? Because I have way more information at hand than I had before. And that also meant that you're listening better to your body. That's what I found with my experience, even teaching it afterwards, was that I was way more in tune with what my body was telling me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For me, like I'd always felt an energy. I always knew that I was an empath. I always knew that I felt more than other people. Like it was like I could enter a room and instantly tell you what the energy of the room was. But raising bioenergetics sort of put it all into perspective into like, oh, this, this is what it means. And exactly like you said, the five senses being able to sort of like take a step back and really, be able to assess the situation with the five senses. And yeah, it's
Nice. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate,
I also love
appreciate
being a
it.
guinea pig, so it's okay.
I know, I know. We've taken you for that quite a bit. So you have kids that are fairly active.
Mhm.
I don't want to say it. What comes to mind is labeled ADHD, but it sounds
They
so
are
bad.
neurodivergent, is what I like to call in their own different ways, because I do have a 8-year-old boy and a 13-year-old daughter, and it shows up completely differently in each of them. So yeah.
I find Kara Wilson, a friend of mine, uses the term neurospicy instead of
Okay.
neurodiversion because we are not we're all a little bit spicy. Some are a little
Hmm.
bit salty, some are a little bit hot, but
Hmm.
basically we're all on the space rack, and that is way
Yep.
more inclusive, I find, than if you go with the word neurodivergent because
Yep.
it creates
True.
a gap between people, and that shouldn't be there. And with her, I learned that I'm too. It's interesting when you don't consider yourself that way, but then you talk about neurospiciness and you look at the quirks that you have in your life, and all of a sudden you go like, "Oops, I'm not just salty. I think I'm a little bit more than that."
I think we've had this conversation before, you and I, because of my children, and my daughter has been, I guess, beating myself with a stick and trying to make me realize that I am as well. And my response to that has always been probably when I was younger, but I've found ways to adapt. And then I really haven't talked to you about this, but I'd say the last week there's been a big aha moment. And I remember looking at her and I was like, uh-oh. I'm like, I think, and she's like, I told you so. So yeah, I did reach out to my doctor this week and at least want to proceed with the testing. Whatever comes out of it. But I guess for me, it's more of a wanting an assurance that I am somewhere on that spectrum and what it
Do
actually
you
means.
need to have that?
I don't think I need to have that. I'm just it's more for an awareness, and like I've there's been a lot of retrospection in the last week and trying to like, oh, like even my burnouts now make complete sense. Like there's just like where they made sense beforehand because I was like, yeah, I was running myself rugged and I wasn't really taking care of myself and blah blah blah. But looking at it from the lens of possible ADHD or whatever part of the spectrum I'm on is very eye-opening and it's kind of like letting me think a different way. So no, the test is not really going to make a difference in my life, but I am very much of a self-aware person. And so to me, that just kind of adds to me knowing myself better.
I find I struggle with labels honestly, because
Hmm.
I find they limit us, and a lot of people that get the label become the label instead of saying, okay, here's information that I have. It doesn't matter really because it's just a label that I
Hmm.
have. It's not making me that person that I am because
No.
I'm not a label, right? I'm made out of so many different parts, and there might be a part of that in there, but it's only a part, and I
Hmm.
can cope with it, I can play with it, I can make it more, or I can be stuck on that label and be that label. Right. So that's why I'm kind of asking when you get a label, is that important for you?
I really don't think so. Again, it's more of an awareness. The label, I don't think is going to make a difference in how I live my life, or, I'm not. going to be asking for the disability credit or anything. Like, it's like I told my doctor, I was like, I've lived with this for 46 years. I really, there's no rush in getting this testing done. Like, I'm fine with it. I just kind of want to go through it and
You
see
said
what it says.
you said something very interesting. You said maybe when I was a child, but now I'm coping with it. So that says already a lot of how you manage to work with it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I saw when my daughter went through the testing, and you look at the questions, and you're like, as a parent, you have to answer the questions for your child, and you're like, uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. But in my mind, I was like, I've adapted. So if I was to fill out this survey for myself, this questionnaire for myself, it's no longer the case. But I've since sort of realized, I have coping mechanisms, but it doesn't deny the fact that the symptoms are still there.
I find a lot of that has also to do the more you're in overwhelm and the more your brain tries to keep you in that box, the more you have those symptoms.
Hmm. I
Because
think the statement that really stuck with me was, like, do you have 20 tabs open in your brain? I'm like, yeah, yeah, all the time, all day long. Like, forgetting stuff, and I've been blaming it the last few years on perimenopause, but not really sure.
honestly,
Not
yes.
really sure.
I
It's
tell you,
completely
yes. But
perimenopause.
again, the same thing is every time you get into overwhelm and stress, your brain will go into that, oh, I have
Hmm.
to hold on to everything. I cannot let it go because I have to, instead of saying, okay, I make my list, I have my list and work it off. Honestly, I have had the experience the last 3 months that I forgot quite a few things. And I still haven't gotten into the habit to write down what I need to do, which is not good. Um,
I tell
leading to
people you don't want to look at the calendar on my phone. It would
lead,
give
well,
anybody an epileptic seizure.
that's what I just wanted to get to. Leading to that, I actually double booked me 3 times this week. So just saying, sometimes we don't cope, right?
Yeah. We
Sometimes we
think we're
cope
coping, but
better.
we're not really coping.
Ah, on the other hand, you do ocean communications, so it's a marketing company, and I know you are quite helpful for your clients to try to prevent all this. I have to do this and that, like me. I have
Hmm.
to do social
Hmm.
media and I have to do so that's quite interesting because I know you have been tying into an area of the healers and the vendors for the markets, which is so cool because I realized lately that a lot of my market people that attend the market that I run every year,
Hmm.
they have no business clue. They are so
No.
lost. And they have a good idea. They're great at what they're doing. And a lot of
Hmm.
them, even in university, a lot of them they are trained. They're highly professional, but they have no
Yep.
clue of business.
I,
Which
I I
then
mean, it's the same
again
thing.
is
It's same thing for me when it came to a point where, I incorporated the business, and you have to come to a point where you realize what are you an expert at and what are you not an expert at, and then finding that person or that business or that service that you mesh with. Like, it's not, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but um, it's grown through the years, and I really do love the fact that I am more and more sort of venturing or specializing or niching into the holistic and wellness market, because that really is, I like to say, I used to have like almost, it felt like a double life, like this energy work that I was working on, my own wellness journey with the burnout and stuff. And then there was, the marketing side of me where I sort of felt like again, like a double person. And the last few months have just been wonderful to be able to realize I can mix the two. There's it's actually possible, and it's very exciting.
I my diplomas are business first, then the master's in complementary integral health, and now the PhD.
Hmm.
But the interesting part in that is that it doesn't exclude each other, it can build on each other. And if you can incorporate both. So my biggest dream still is to create a summit where people learn business with energy combined.
Hmm.
So business from an
I'm there with
energetic
you.
perspective, because it becomes so much better. It becomes so much bigger, and it becomes so much easier because you're following the flow. You have all these insights. And that was interesting because I had the conversation with Sandy Uncaged, so Sandy McClellan,
Mm-hmm.
just before you,
I
the
know
episode
Sandy.
before
Yep.
you, and it's gonna be come up, like it's gonna be posted before you. Um,
It's fine.
Interesting part is realizing an astrologer has the insight of the energies coming into your life, right? Because that's what it is. The stars
Mm-hmm.
have energy fields that collide with your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you have that coming in, and it can enhance or it can diminish whatever you have. So if you're aware of these energies are coming into your life, you can build on that.
Mm-hmm.
I
I've
never,
personally experienced the joys of Sandy's astrology.
I've never
It's
put that so
it's
much in
amazing.
relation. Like I've believed in astrologers, but as an energy healer, I never looked at the combination of both. So there is a person who has insight in what's coming up, while I'm stuck in that here, right now, present. I can work, and that's yeah, that was the eye opener with Sandy. But it's all
When you look at
aligned.
all the modalities, like it's amazing. Like, you know, being a member of the Holistic Hub, the Atlantic Holistic Hub, and like just seeing all the modalities that are, essentially energy work in different forms, right? And it's and this is where I bring in my marketing part where I'm like, it's not well known. Like I feel like it's, people hear about it, but they don't really understand how it works. And so I'm sort of, I guess, making it my mission to be able to find ways to, promote it, market it, shout it from the rooftops what all of these modalities mean.
So, got just quick to the audience, if you like and listen, or if you listen and like, if you listen and like, please subscribe, please share, and please share it to people that can use it, because only when we tell our stories can we learn and can we help others find a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Tying into what you just said, my business diploma was in marketing, or the main course was marketing, and
So you know what you're doing.
no. Well, I have an inkling. The follow through and so on might be lacking sometimes really badly. But it's true, because I've been publicity chair as well can be well the Canadian Association for Bioenergetic Wellness, as well
Hmm.
as Atlantic Therapeutic Touch Network. And my perspective was always we need to bring the word out what we do, not go and find members. We need to tell the public what we're doing, because we're doing a better service for our members when we inform the public, because there is a huge gap in knowledge. There's a huge gap in how you can apply. And I don't call it alternative anymore. For me, everything is
Hmm.
complementary, because when we come together, only then can we all grow up together and be brought forward together, instead of working against. Alternative always means you're working against or as something
Yeah.
else. Well,
It
if you're
it can
working,
be it can be in sync. It can all sort of work
yeah,
together on its
yeah,
own.
and it doesn't matter if that's now healing, if that's therapy, if that's marketing, if that's doing your business. When you come together, you're taking the overload from everybody,
Hmm.
because resonance finds resonance, and there's not really competition between us. There is a together, and
Yep.
who can work with you can work with you. But if you're authentic, and if you're true to your nature, and if you're yourself,
Hmm.
then and honest, and then people can come and can find you, because you are you. You're not making promises that you can't keep. And
It's
that's I think honest marketing, get back to the marketing, honest marketing, being
honest marketing.
being authentic, not selling, but being authentic, informing, educating is way more beneficial for
Hmm.
everybody than anything else.
I've always been a relationship builder. Like the last thing, the work, the thing that I like most about having a business is the selling. And we talk about authenticity. To me, it's like if you show up, if you're yourself, um, that you're truly interested in wanting to build those relationships with the individuals and again, the holistic wellness world, the competition is very little. Like it's everybody sort of meshes together and helps each other out. So it just helps to create those authentic relationships. And to me, like this,
You're
it almost
talking
makes me want to fly off. Like it excites me so much where I'm like, yeah,
you're talking our network because if you go worldwide, the competition is cutthroat.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. But I find the Maritimes and especially like Nova Scotia,
Hmm.
the healers tend to work closer together than anywhere else I've seen. And also the net, I like what Crystal, the creator of the Holistic Hub, created
Hmm.
there is amazing because it brings all in one platform. She created a network where people can thrive.
Hmm.
And yes,
I
it's
even
a
find it with
business.
Can Be Well, like at a national level with Canada, like it might be a little bit more competitive, but I still find that the relationship building and the helping each other out is still there at the national level.
Well, and that's again who's running Can Be Well right now. So it's always
Amazing individuals.
not me. I like it's a lot of that is Michelle's
Mm,
our president's background and pull out there. Like and that comes down to when the board's not working, when the board is not on one level, you cannot create that. You cannot bring that forward. And Crystal with her business idea is so much empowering others and taking the overwhelm from others because here is a place where we didn't have that before her. We didn't have the place where we could come together and exchange
no,
and
no.
create and be bigger. I try to do that with my market people, but that's 40 people at most, right?
Yep,
In my
yep.
network. In my and I'm always open to help and assist in whatever I can because I find if we don't help each other, nobody helps us.
No, and there's strength in numbers, and there's a strength there in simply helping each other out. I mean, for
Yeah.
example, last week was rough. I have my weeks. There's weeks where it, and again, if we're going back to burnout, like I guess what has prevented me from having the next burnout is I now know the precursor signs, right? I know when I'm having those warning signs. So last week I was seeing them, like they were coming at me full blast, and I was like, not happening. Thursday I had a meeting with my manager. I was like, tomorrow I'm probably not showing up because I'm of use to no one. And you and I don't want me to go there again. So I'm going to take tomorrow off. There was an amazing activity being organized and held by the Holistic Hub with Crystal. It was a 3 hour sort of retreat with, hot tub and sauna and sound healing. Like it was amazing, but I would have never, that would have never crossed my mind if it wasn't for my association and my connections with the Holistic Hub. I needed a break. There was an opportunity there, and it was the most amazing day, except for, my forehead and my whole face peeling right now because of being in this. But, lots of vitamin D that day.
Yeah, but
But
that's
it's,
that's the interesting part when you start tying into your physical being and into your needs and into your wants and also your limits and you acknowledge those instead
Mhm.
of constantly overriding them and going, oh, just one more task. Oh, I'll go to bed when I've done this. Or I have to finish
Yep.
this list and blah blah blah. Instead of saying, okay, no, my brain's not functioning anymore. I'm gonna go to bed and I'll start in the morning,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yep.
Um, we've come so far, and I see that's what I said. I see that in you
A
with
little bit
getting,
of a lightness.
yeah, no, it's and we don't have to be fixed 100%. We just have to know how to cope. We
Hmm.
have to know that we have the signs there that we pull out. It's like me with the red. Did I ever tell you the story of the red sticker?
Might have, but would have been a while
So
ago, so you can repeat
the
it.
red sticker for me, the red sticker story is I was a vocational trainer at Siemens. And when our trainees came in and I had a bad day, I would put a red sticker on my forehead,
Yes, now I
which would
remember.
mean
Yep.
don't approach me. But everything was set up that all my colleagues in the team knew I had a bad day, so they would take care of them. And I could just stay out of it.
It's amazing that you were able to have that awareness and like accept, like, uh, yeah, like I I could only say I could probably have been doing that like the last few years, maybe, but before then, I would have never dreamt of putting
Well,
a red sticker or warning people that I wasn't to be talked to.
I'm a very visual person, so I'm all for pictures. Giving people pictures is easier than telling them stop, go away. Um, but if you set that up in the beginning, that's and I did that instinctually. I didn't do that on purpose. It was not, oh, I have to do that this way. It was just okay, this is the easiest way for me to make sure that
Mm,
the students are okay. Um, but if you do that, and if you look into your circumstances and you see situations that come up and come up and come up, you can set up the boundaries up front
hmm.
before you're in that situation, or the latest once you went once through the situation or twice, so you know there's a
Hmm.
pattern, and then set it up that everybody's warned in advance. That way you don't
Yep.
have to explain yourself. That way you're not offending anybody because actually you told them in advance this might happen and I made sure that everybody's okay.
Yep.
Right.
No, it's great. For me, it's all about boundaries and like at first, 'cause I was never raised to put boundaries. I didn't know what boundaries were,
Mm-hmm.
at the very beginning. And to me, it just I started to realize that every time I was angry, every time I'd get frustrated or angry, there was a clear boundary being crossed at that point. Like once I started to associate my anger and my frustration to a boundary being crossed, and then being able to step back and ask myself, okay, what's angering me? What boundary is being crossed? Like why am I angry? What can be done to prevent it? And then, started writing them down, and the list became quite long. At some point you go, "Oh, I have a crap load of boundaries." Um, but being able to, and then recognizing them and being able to communicate them has been, I mean, it's liberating to a certain extent.
How often was it the case that you didn't communicate them right?
Never. It's like before my work with you, and the bioenergetics, and a few other, you know, um, coaches, therapists that I've been working with. I mean, when I had my first burnout, which was in May of 2016, I recall quite clearly that one. I didn't know what boundaries were.
Mm-hmm.
I never communicated them. I just had been programmed to, do the best with my life, and, yes, I would communicate my emotions and my feelings at once, but to actually a boundary, yeah, had no idea what that was.
Mm-hmm. And how did it feel in the beginning to set up boundaries?
Scary, scary because
Why?
for someone who, I mean, when I think back, you know, I was raised in a family and an environment where you just don't rock the boat. I mean, you can communicate your emotions, but I was taught from a very young age not to rock the boat, not to show my emotions, to just let things be, to, kind of go with the flow. Again, not rattle anything, and I've been doing that for a long time. And it accumulated like, you know,
Mhm.
16, I was 36. That was quite a few years of not communicating what my needs were or what, um, yeah.
So with the kids now, do you
Mm.
install that in the kids to set the boundaries? Do you enforce your boundaries with the kids? How is that going?
I believe they're learning by seeing me. I try as much as I can to communicate my boundaries, whether they're small or big. Um, and so I see them themselves being able to put their own boundaries quite naturally. I mean, children who are not programmed to not, rock the boat like I was. I've always been the parent, like from their very young age, who, I've always tried to encourage them to be their own individual self, to express their needs. It's okay to cry, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to express yourself. Because myself had never had that safety net to be able to fully express my emotions. And so as a parent, it was very important for me to ensure that my children felt safe in that environment. And that has, you know, pretty sure has led to them being able to set their own boundaries, and they do. They're pretty good at communicating that.
Which leads to a different question because what you just told me is them expressing theirs,
Hmm.
but how much did that go against your boundaries?
At time it at time it does.
Yeah.
Um, they, they are amazing humans, but I like to say when they come back to me, because I have shared custody, they're with me 1 week, they're with their father 1 week. When they come back to me, I describe it as they've been a bunch of monkeys. They're like a bunch of monkeys that have been held for a cage for a week. And so they come to me and it's like, whoosh, right? It's like, I d- I don't like, and, I've come to sort of, it's been quite a few years. And so now I sort of anticipate it, but there's been a progression where, I let them, air it out. I let them express themselves. I'm there. I let them cuddle. I let them, take my attention. But I also, there are times, usually by, a few days, I'll be like, okay, I've done this for you. Like I just need an hour or two to myself. I have some stuff to do. Like we'll sit down before going to bed. We'll watch a little bit of TV. We'll relax. In my mind, I'll give you the attention that you need so that you can go to sleep. But I do, I do occasionally need those little moments of silence. And for the most part, when I explain to them, you know, that I need that alone time, that I've been at work all day, that I need, some decompressing, even after they're asleep. You know, I have explained to them, you need to be in bed by this hour. You need to be in bed by this hour so that I can have a half hour peace of quiet so that I can decompress before I go to bed. Um, they test it, but as they're getting older and understanding what that means, and how important it is to me. They're not perfect, but they're getting there.
How much do you explain to them in regards of this is the consequence, what happens if I don't get that?
Oh, I think they know what the consequences. It means mommy not being happy and being short-tempered, and they've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
no,
not I'm
because
not my best
I,
self.
well, I have no kids, but I see that often that kids are told to do this and that, but never why. Never, this is the consequence. I have friends who had, when I was still in Germany, they had 5 kids. The oldest one was 10 years older than the other ones, and the other ones were all 1.5 years apart. And it was very interesting because my friend actually managed to raise those kids, like when you said don't go there, because they would not go there, while
Mm,
other parents said don't go there, period. But they were from small, being small, they were always told there's a reason behind why I tell you something. So they would follow. Naturally, growing up, you test that. But for the
mm-hmm.
most part, especially in the age between 2 and 10, I've never seen kids being that understanding of why they were needed for why they were asked to do something in a certain way, and then follow up.
Yeah, I think I've always explained because they've always asked. And again, I remember myself growing up, and I even see it with the older generation where it's like, don't do as you know, as I do as I say, and blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, my kids from a very young age ask questions, and I naturally always explain to them, okay, this is not safe because, a few weeks ago, my son goes to an after school program, goes on a different bus than his sister. His sister comes home, he goes to the after school program, and one day he just decided he didn't want to go to the after school program and just got on the bus home.
Hmm.
There was no one home. And so he was wondering why I was angry. But, I sat him down and I was like, it because, it wasn't safe and this is why. And, like at the end of the day, you would have come here and there would have been no one to watch you. And then that would have been unsafe. And you could have, with him, sometimes you kind of have to give the worst case scenario of what happened. And then that sort of registers. But um, yeah, I think they sort of understand things. They're always going to question. Um, and so if you're able to give that reason why it's unsafe or why they shouldn't do this or why they should this, then, doesn't work all the time, but it does work most of the time.
So you have a lot of your on your plate. What do you do for
Mm.
you other than going on short retreats?
Short retreats. Um, um, I'm very much I occasionally go for walks and, watch movies and I resource myself often with just everybody thinks I'm an extrovert, but I'm really am an introvert. I do resource myself by being alone, by reflecting, listening to music. My kids know if I'm completely overwhelmed, I will look at them and I'll be like, I'm going for a drive. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And they know that I'm simply going down the street on the shore road near the Atlantic Ocean to listen to waves. Like they know that that is. So recognizing those moments that I need, that sort of like, max half an hour to decompress. Being with my friends, I always try to, regularly schedule suppers or outings with my friends. Just it's really important to know what re-energizes you and resources you. And um, I have a list of it on my phone amongst many other lists because I find sometimes when I'm just really overwhelmed, you don't see the forest for the trees. You're just completely overwhelmed. And so if I have that list there, I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I can. Oh, I'm gonna go do that. That is what I need.
Mhm.
It's little things. There's nothing really fancy. I mean, I like the occasional getaway. I like driving. I'm a big, just driving on the open road and just not even knowing where I'm going. Just kind of like land wherever the car lands. Um, yeah, adventure and quiet contemplative moments.
Or you rant and ramble to me.
Or I rent and rambles too. Like there is the occasional Natasha, can we talk? And I do have, along with you, I do have a few, those friends that I can sort of reach out to and say, hey, I think it's, Mel Robbins podcast where it's like, was it Mel Robbins or that guy? the 8 minute rule. It's like where you reach out to a
Sinek,
friend.
Simon Sinek, who has
Simon
the
Fin, yep,
8 minute rule. Yeah.
yep. I have a few friends where I'm just like, do you have 8 minutes? And you know, that is a surefire way that they know that I need to talk, and they'll let me know if they have 8 minutes, or, you know, not right now, but in about an hour, I'll call you when I'm done, you know. Um, I think that's really important, having that support system.
Yeah. Just to explain the 8 minutes. So Simon Sinek posted in social media that he had a friend reach out and say, do you have a minute or do you have 5 minutes? And he didn't realize that this person was in need and actually in crisis. And so they agreed upon that she's going to say, do you have 8 minutes when she's in crisis? Because nobody uses 8 minutes.
Hmm.
So it's a sign. Again, you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting up a
Hmm.
boundary. You're setting up a safety net. That when somebody reaches out with those 8 minutes, you know this person needs you,
Yep.
right? Or and at the same time, when you use the 8 minutes, you know that you're going to be heard, and
Hmm.
not put aside as a side note. Yeah, I am cooking right now. I cannot, or whatever. It's somebody will really take time for you,
Hmm.
and talk to you. And that's I found that when I read that, I found that such a great thing. I've talked about it quite a bit because again, we're setting us up for failure or success. We're setting up
Hmm.
how we are treated. If we're creating the circumstances that we need to thrive, they will happen. But it's us who need to communicate them, and it's us to have like we cannot expect others to see us all the time. It's
That's
wonderful
been,
if they do. But for the most time, we're not seen. For the most time, we are often the ones who see. And then it becomes very common that um, I reach out to you, for instance, when I see a post and I go like, okay, tell me. Because I
hmm.
know you, I know the sound of what you're putting out there. I get the energy. I
I'll
get it.
occasionally put the passive aggressive post on my Facebook,
And
and
again,
Natasha always calls me out.
it's very easy when you're tied in. I had the situation that being the one constantly taking care of others or being aware of others' needs, I had a shitty day a couple of weeks ago, and one of the volunteers from the food bank, whom I know her for quite a while, living in the same community, different things that we've done. Um, but the interesting part was that we're not really close. And I walked in and I said good morning and didn't say much more. And she came and she said, "Come on out with me." I like, "What's going on?" And she's like, I'm like, "Oh, did I do something wrong?" And she's like, "What's wrong? Are
Mm,
you okay?" And I was so
it warms my heart. Yeah.
it threw me for a loop because I'm not used to people asking me what's wrong unless I tell them right away, which is usually not a big problem for me. But it's neat to be seen by somebody else. It's neat to be in a place where somebody else actually
Ca-
recognizes you.
caretakers, natural caretakers kind of know when another person needs taken care of.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes they still don't ask.
Yeah, but
So yeah. So again, to the audience, if you like what we're talking about, if you have your own story to share, reach out. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe. Pass it on to others that can benefit from our content. Because again, it's important to share stories and have others realize that there's a different perspective to their life than they might be stuck in.
Mhm.
One tip that you would give somebody else or your younger self, pick it, or the kids, pick one of them, not to get into overwhelm.
uh, l learn not to ignore your thoughts, your mind. I ignored myself for a long time. I ignored my needs without even knowing what my needs were. But the basis of it all was, um, I would hear myself, like I would, you know, I was aware that something wasn't right, or that, you know, that there was something off, but not really acting upon it because I was so scared of like bothering someone or to like take up more space than I needed to. I had again been programmed to kind of be small. And so um, you're into we all have that intuition, and it starts by little small um, little pushes and nudges, and it's by not ignoring those initial thoughts. Like if you're having thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, like they are true. Like don't ignore those. There's you may not be able to fully assess it at that moment, but the more that you actually hear them and honor those thoughts and those feelings, the more easier the rest of the work comes, whether it's boundary, listening to yourself more.
So
It's
example would be your body saying no, and you're still going.
like
You,
I'm tired, but
yeah.
I'm tired. I should be going to sleep, but then continue on. It seems like that the doing seems productive and that you're actually contributing and making a difference. But if you're not taking care of yourself, if your body's telling you to rest, there's a reason why it's telling you to rest. And if you don't listen to it, uh, it's gonna come, tenfold the next time. So yeah, learning those little nudges, whether you can journal them or just reflect on them, but those little nudges are a lot more important than you think they are.
Mhm. True, true words. And I think we're gonna close it with those because that's a good point.
Yeah.
Um, I love that you've been on. I've been hounding you so much to come online. Sorry. Um, I love Nathalie.
I've had a great mentor. It's been awesome.
I love Nathalie for seeing her story and seeing how far she's come, working with all of us people that she choose as her support team. Because there is change, and change can start that small, but in your case, it's this big. So,
I'm seeing it in, my team at my full-time job. Like there's a lot of younger individuals who I'm starting to see the symptoms. Like they're starting to talk the way I talked when I was in my 20s. Um, and it's been quite rewarding to myself being able to talk to them and allowing them to have that space to talk where they're and even my kids, like I have this notion or this feeling that, I'm not making a big difference in the world, but if I can sort of support and even raise my kids to be awareness and to, be able to take care of themselves better than I did, then that's just a little gift
we
at
have
the end of the day
we
to
have a
them.
saying in Germany, ein steter Tropfen höhlt den Stein, which means a steady drop or drip will hollow the stone. You don't have
Hmm.
to do big things. You don't have to like blow up the stone. Just be the drip and be the constant drip. And sometimes it's our behavior
Hmm.
that's doing the biggest thing. Like if people can see the shift in you, that's the biggest thing that you can give
Hmm.
somebody else. And
And
then the other
listening,
part,
just listening.
being there, yeah, holding
Yeah.
space for others. And
Being able to hold space without judging or trying to contribute or trying to give an opinion. Like, yes, if they ask your opinion, but people just want to be heard, right? They
Mhm,
just they just want what they're feeling to be validated. I mean, yes, if they ask for your opinion, you can give your guidance and, your love. Um, but there's this growing need for people just to be heard.
mhm. They want to rant and ramble and get it out of
Hmm.
their system.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you have nobody
exactly.
to address it to or to leave it with, it feels not being said. That's
It
the
feels
thing.
heavy. very
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah,
If it doesn't come out,
yeah.
it becomes a big weight within your body and your system.
And having it constantly in your mind and going over it in your mind and in your mind and in your mind, that's a definition of overwhelm.
Mhm.
It's the vicious cycle
Overdrive.
that's not stopping and that's not constructive. It's going nowhere. And if you have somebody that you can rant and ramble to who might offer a different perspective, offer being that, not giving a different
Hmm.
perspective,
Hmm.
then it might be possible for you to get out of that by yourself because all of a sudden there's a different idea, there's a different thought process behind what you're stuck with, right?
The air, like I said, like I compare sometimes my blow ups or my anger to a volcano, right? It just kind of it accumulates and then it blows. And I'm thinking, like if you're able to let a little bit of the air out of the balloon or
The
the
steam.
gas out of the volcano, just
You need the steam valve.
giving giving allowing someone to be able to just let off a little bit of that steam, you know, may seem very small, but it helps preventing the volcano from erupting.
Yeah, it's a huge gift for others. That for sure. So thank you so much for coming to the podcast, being my
Thank you for
guest,
having me.
and I can't wait to see you again.
Next time you're in Halifax.
Yeah, soon.
All right.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade.